want financial freedom, but how? In this video, you're going to learn a 3-step strategy to build massive wealth. And you will know exactly who wants to stop you from achieving financial success. What I'm going to share with you today are not some ordinary ideas. I'm going to share some extraordinary ideas today. And I'll be sharing the idea that you are an investor already. You're like, I'm not an investor. Yes, you are an investor already, but you might be investing in what is not desired. I'll tell you that in a second as well. Today's conversation is going to give you some deep understanding as well as some disturbing ideas that might challenge your thinking about money, assets, liabilities, cars, houses, and everything else that you think about as assets. And finally, you'll be learning about Robert Kiyosaki's model for investing. So why am I saying that you are already an investor? I'll share that. Think about the world. You are putting money into something. It could be a house. You could be saving money. You could be saving on cars. You're putting money on cars. And when you go to the bank, they tell you what? They tell you that it's an asset. List all your assets. The house that you pay loan to is an asset. The car that you pay an EMI on, that's an asset. That's what the bank is saying. But in reality, it's an asset for them. So what is the definition of an asset? The definition of an asset is, we have a simple definition from Robert Kiyosaki, which is, asset is something that put cash in your pocket. Asset is something that puts cash in your pocket. Is a car putting cash in your pocket? But it is putting cash in somebody's pocket. Every month, somebody is getting an EMI, 20,000 rupees, $1,000, or something else. So every month, your car is generating a cash flow for the person who gave you the loan. So the lender gets a cash flow. For the lender, it's an asset. So the question is, because you're going to discover today how to create wealth step by step. It's going to be a master class, but understand that the lender who gets you to be a financial slave, write that down in the chat. The lender who gets you to be a financial slave, for them, doesn't want you to make money. Does it make sense? Because if you start making money, if you start creating assets, they are not going to create assets because you become the asset creator. Same thing with your house too. Today, you go to a bank will tell you, what does the bank tell you? Oh, you're qualified for 1/3 of your income for a housing loan. They decide that. And you're like, oh, I want to build a really nice house. I want to get the best car. I want to get the best credit card. Think about the credit card. The biggest asset building for a bank is a credit card. Why? Because you are giving them 20 to 37% sometimes in some countries in annual interest, which means the thing that you are keeping in your hand called credit card is creating a cash flow for a bank. This is one of the biggest scams in the world. This is like a legitimate scam. Like, for example, think about it this way. If you have, let's say, $1,000, and if you are listening from US, maybe you know this, maybe you don't, US has $1 trillion. $1 trillion in credit card liability. 1 trillion is $1,000 billion. 1 billion is $1,000 million. So we have 1 trillion liability here in the US. And then when the financial institutions like Citibank and Bank of America and all other banks figured out that, oh, this could be done in other countries, we expanded it to other countries and expanded the biggest scam in the world. Credit cards. Legitimate scam. They're legally allowed to do that. They're legally allowed to take 20 to 37% from you, which is, so in other words, if you are monthly paying your credit card or not paying or paying a portion of it, you are investing. You're investing like a poor person. What are you investing in? You are investing in liability. Isn't that funny? It's scary and funny at the same time. You are investing in liability. Write down. Today, I am investing in liabilities. This is 90% of the world because they have no financial education whatsoever. So, what they think is this is 90% of the human population. We invest in liabilities, credit card, expensive cars. By the way, people ask me, do you have like expensive cars? I do. But my discipline has to be, I should only allocate a smaller percentage than the bank is recommending, bank is allowing for my cars. If I could afford, let's say, conceptually, if I could afford a Rolls Royce, I should buy a BMW. If I could afford a BMW, I should buy a cheaper car. Does this make sense? So the bank should not decide what you can afford. This goes back to a simple idea that I'm going to share with you in terms of how to manage your expenses and income. But do you understand? Somebody has been ripping you of wealth for decades. If you are in 40s or 50s, if you are in 20s or 30s, understand that. Don't fall into this biggest trap of investing in liabilities. Credit card is the biggest liability that we invest in, which means that every 3 years approximately, their money doubles. Which means if you owe $1,000, you will owe $2,000 if you just pay only interest rate. And if you miss one payment, they will charge you penalties, late fees, whatever, and then you're gone. Then comes the next level of person who actually, so the 90% of the people are investing in liabilities. Rest of the 9% approximately are investing in cash. Okay. Cash is a liability. What does that even mean? Cash is a liability. Because first of all, what is an asset? Asset is something that puts cash into your pocket. And today, globally, for example, as this video is recorded in Germany, in some countries in Europe, the interest rate that government is giving money to bank is negative, which means our government is giving $1,000 to a bank. Government is willing to take, for example, 999 after 1 year. What does that even mean, right? It's strange, right? Like, how could that work? Because we are going through a very strange phenomenon about money. I'll explain that in a second. But understand this. Today, if you put $1,000 into bank, and if you get, let's say, 1,000 and 1,100, even like in some countries, you will get 1,100. That is 10%, 10% interest rate. Even with that, most of those countries will have higher inflation than that. Many countries have hidden inflation that is higher than that. So you invest money in cash. You invest in cash, you are investing in liability. Why? The same $1,000 that you put in, after 12 months, you get 1,100. Even with the 1,100, you will not be able to buy the same thing that you bought right now. So the purchase capacity gone down. It's because of what we call as simple terms. It's called inflation. Inflation basically means the value of milk. So this is a milk. I need to draw a cow too. Yeah, so from cow, you get milk. And that's a tail. And this milk was $2 today, and it's $3. And then it's $4. And the gasoline was like $3, and it becomes $5, and so on and so forth. So 99% of the people are screwed. Why? Because they are investing in liabilities or cash. So if you're investing in liability or cash, then you're missing it. You're missing it. Rest of the 1% are the people who aggressively invest on cash flow generating machines. Cash flow generating machines. Those are called assets. Cash flow generating assets. And Robert Kiyosaki's definition is anything that generates cash flow. I have a slightly more advanced definition. And anything that creates intrinsic value. Remember this word. This is really important. Intrinsic value, right? Something that has actual value. Okay. The value of money, what happens? The value of $100, next year is $90. Okay. And next year is $80. I'm not quite saying exactly there is 10% inflation. What I'm saying is the value of liability, like the thing that the car that you bought, it's depreciating. Like you bought it for $50,000, $100,000. It is depreciating while generating cash flow for the lender. Wow. While generating cash flow for the manufacturer. For them, it's an asset. For you, it's not. It's not fancy to say, it's not fun to hear. So people in their lifetime, generally speaking, these are generalizations. This is from Robert Kiyosaki. People go through 4 stages in their life. So first stage is like employee mindset. So why do I say employee mindset? Even if you are a highly professional employee, like you will be able to build assets. Okay, so I'll show you that in a second, right? So if you have the employee mindset, you just get your paycheck and you spend it all and you spend more than you receive, you have employee mindset. You are investing in liabilities. You're not even investing in cash. And then what happens is, then you become kind of self-employed type person. So when you become self-employed, what happens is you're like a doctor, a consultant, engineering consulting, small consulting, and you go there, you're self-employed, you run a really tiny business, and then in that tiny business generate some money, and you're investing in 2 things, investing in liabilities and some money in cash. Do you see that? And the third stage is business. If you own a business and that you have wealth generated and you're investing in assets and back into business. Okay. And some people are really happy with employment. Like, for example, people who work in like really multinational companies, people who are really working for like really amazing companies, they could still skip these 2 things and then directly go to the 4th step, which is investing. So you don't need to go through this business journey like Robert Kiyosaki is saying to become a profound investor. You could skip these 2 and directly go to investing. Investing means you're becoming the 1% of the people. And you might hear like in US and all over the world, everybody talks about the 1%, the 1% who makes money. And if there is a recession, they make more money. If there is a boom, they make more money. No matter what happens, they become richer and richer. Why? Because they have appreciating asset, appreciating assets. So if you want assets, okay, so if you want to build massive wealth or even want to be rich, then what you need to do is you need to start building assets. Is that clear? Okay. So as you're trying to build assets, how do you go about it? That's what we're going to talk about next. And then I'll tell you the mistakes to avoid while you're trying to build wealth and what are the 5 areas that you could build wealth in the process. If you're having a great time understanding some unique ideas, put unique in the chat. So I understand that you're enjoying it with me. Are we having fun? Yes? Okay. So there is a principle from Warren Buffett, who's considered to be one of the greatest investors of all time. He says, rule number 1, and we are breaking this rule number 1, day-to-day basis. Don't lose money. Don't lose money. So what does that even mean? It means that if you are putting excessive money into a house that you cannot afford, then you are losing money. That can be potentially used for investing in assets. Does it make sense? Yeah. So if you have a luxury car that is really, really expensive, that is beyond your means, that is a key point. There are people that I work with. who can afford Bentleys and Rolls Royces, and they own that. But for them, that is a fraction of their income, fraction of their cash flow. You could get there if that's what you want to do eventually. Okay, maybe you're already there. If that's the case, some of this might not be relevant for you. But the important thing is you don't lose money. Whether it is stock market, we don't take risky bets. That is why we should try our best to avoid trading. So trading, like a lot of people have a lot of things. People share about, how to trade money on stock market and then make a lot of money. Here is the truth that I know. I don't do trading. Number one, I don't do trading. Number two is 96% of the people cannot predict the market. There is 4% of the people who can predict market. Maybe they get lucky. 96% of the people who come out of Harvard, Wharton, Yale, some of the biggest schools in the world, they are doing fund management. That's what they do full time. But from these fund managers who manage the fund, billions of dollars, only 4% of the people make more money than a system that I'm going to share with you. And over the next few weeks, I'll share more and more advanced strategies, even more advanced strategies in different dimensions on how to do that. So stay tuned for that. But understand, these people who have an MBA, sometimes PhD in finance, they are only 4% of them are able to beat the market. What do I mean by beat the market? I'll tell you that in a second. So if 96% of these people who have MBAs and PhDs from the top university in the world, they get it wrong, do not do trading. Do not do trading, because trading, most of the time, people lose money, especially ordinary people like you and me. We lose money. So don't lose money. Always think long term. So I want you to understand one principle in between, as I'm sharing about this principle from Warren Buffett, which is it is almost impossible to make money in the short term. Write it down. It's almost impossible. It's very challenging. Make serious money in the short term. And it's almost impossible to lose money in the long term. This is so true about stock market. So it's almost impossible to lose money in the short term. It's almost impossible to edit that, cut that. It's almost impossible. It's very, very challenging to make money in the short term. And it's very, very challenging. You have to work really hard to lose money in the long term. Back to the Warren Buffett principle. So if that's the case, if you don't want to lose money, don't lose money. Remember, Warren Buffett said, don't lose money. What is the second principle? So we got principle number one, don't lose money. Principle number two, you know what it is? Refer to rule number one. You got it right. Refer to rule number one. That's it. Don't lose money. And reminding you, don't lose money. Does this make sense? So while you buy the most expensive car you could buy, while you buy the most expensive house you could buy, and when bank is saying, you are approved up to this limit, and if you're using that limit, what are we losing? You're losing money that could potentially be invested into assets. I want you to be selfish. I want you to be selfish for you and for your future first. Don't you think you should be selfish and save the money for you first? There is a traditional old book called Richest Man in Babylon. Richest Man in Babylon. In that book, everybody should read that book. It's a simple, silly story. It's a short read. You could finish that in 45 minutes probably. One of the things that he says in that story is, pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. Are we paying ourselves first? Meaning, are we investing in ourselves? Are we thinking about us? Today, we are slaves. Most of us are slaves, financial slaves. Financial slaves to the banks. You take a loan for 20 years, 30 years. You know what you're doing? You're working for 20, 30 years as, as a puppet. This is degrading, I know, but that's the truth for a bank. And where they get to double their money. They don't want you to be rich. They want you to stay poor so that they could expand their horizon, and they have the best financial instruments. Like, oh, you have a housing loan with us. We are so proud. You're one of our top clients. You know what we want to give you? We want to give you a credit card. Because you have been so responsible with money. You're like, oh my gosh, they love me so much. This banks, if only we didn't have banks, who would I love? We are addicted sometimes to spending money. They give us significance. We do whatever they want us to do. We swipe and swipe and swipe. When we swipe, imagine the money that we have in your credit card. And you're like, oh, I have credit cards. Here's the thing. I pay off my credit card all the time. I pay off it 100% of the time. I know what you're thinking. There's the thing. Even if you do, imagine you are going to a restaurant and you're paying for the food, right? So you go to a restaurant and it's $10 for the food, or $5 for the food, depending upon what country you are listening from. So $5 for the food, okay? And then you go to same $5, you could get a buffet, okay? I know you are a really nice person and everything. I know you are selfless and like honorable and everything. Do you think you will eat slightly more if it's a buffet? Yes? That is what your credit card is. Credit card is a financial buffet. So it's a financial buffet. Just because it's free. It's like you are spending time with somebody else's wife. You know, like you will be like really friendly and stuff like that, right? So it's a financial buffet. Makes sense? When you are spending from your debit card, from your money, right? You're like, should I spend it? Should I not spend it? But when it's other people's money, the credit card is somebody else's money, right? I'm not going to pay for it. It's not my money. I'm going to pay after 30 days, 45 days. Anyway, you know, you spend, this is statistically proven in US, 15% more just because of that. You spend 15% more because of that. Don't lose money. What did Warren Buffett say? Don't lose money. You're losing money in that 15%. 15% that could have been invested in assets. You're losing it, right? So what are the 3 steps to get to financial freedom, right? So going on the same principle, because hopefully is it bringing more clarity about money, right? Oftentimes nobody educates us, right? Isn't that unfair that you went to college, went to school, went to college, probably have a master's, maybe you have a PhD, and you studied for 25 years. Nobody taught you this stuff. Yeah. And then somebody is taking advantage of you. You're like really educated person, and somebody is taking advantage of you right in front of your eyes. And then you have no clue what happened. Right. And you are like, oh my gosh, that bank manager was so nice to me. He gave me coffee. Yeah. He can give you 300,000 coffees because you're paying them so much, right? So please understand that financial institutions, you have to be intelligent enough to be not manipulated by them. That's how you're going to be rich. Otherwise, they will make sure that you stay poor. So the 3 steps, you're ready for the 3 steps? If you're ready, put in the chat. You're ready. I am ready. Yeah. Step number 1, reduce investing in liabilities. And this is kind of a very obvious thing based on what we are saying right now. Reduce the investment in liabilities. That is step number 1. Like people are like, oh, I want to invest in crypto. I want to invest in stock market, and give me ideas for stock market. Give me ideas for real estate. But here is the thing. I'll explain that. Okay. Reduce investment in liabilities. So step number 1. So here is the thing. Imagine you are paying 30% in credit cards, in consumer debt. You have 30% in consumer debt. Do you know what Warren Buffett is able to generate through his portfolio? annually. So you're paying annually 30%. This guy called Warren Buffett, who's supposed to be very, very smart guy, is one of the greatest investors of all time. He's only able to generate between 20 to 30, and it could be 27, but 20 to 30% annualized return. Sometimes it's lesser than that. What does that mean? It means the best investment, if you have credit card, if you have high interest, about 10%, 15% loans, paying that off and stop investing in liability is the number one fastest path to financial freedom. Why? Because this is putting you, like right now, imagine you are in a hole. This is digging you into a much bigger hole and much bigger hole and much bigger hole on a moment to moment basis. Banks are counting money every moment. And you're getting into bigger and bigger liabilities. Why? Because you have 30% return, which almost no human, with very few exceptions, probably I could count them on my finger, people who are able to bring more than 30% annualized return. So do you understand that? So if you have consumer credit card, if you have high interest rate personal loans, paying that off is the number one thing that you could do to get to financial freedom. I know you might have been looking for like fascinating idea that would get you to be a millionaire next week. And I know you're not like that. You're a long-term thinker. But please understand that this is absolutely critical. The second thing is, once you have the high interest rate consumer debt handle, then number two is invest in cash flow generating assets. And what are the assets that we could invest in? I'll tell you so many ways to invest in a second. But before that, step number three is let assets create assets. Let's say, for example, you invested in a cash flow generating property. So you like if you are in Europe, US, listening to me, or India listening to me, there are different people listening from different countries, or some Asian countries, Vietnam. If you're listening to me from Vietnam, you could potentially build asset portfolio in real estate, generating cash flow every month. And I'll talk more about how to do that in a future video. But if you are able to create cash flow from your real estate property, that as in, let's say, even if it's a small amount, let's say you have a real estate property that you're renting, and from that you are generating, let's say, $100 cash flow. And you put that money into a long-term stock. Something like let's say, for example, an Apple or Microsoft or something like that has long-term potential that you see, right? And all of a sudden, what happened? This asset, this is just a concept, and I'll get you to the technical things and advanced details in this rest of the video, and like in the future videos. If you're curious about it, let me know in the chat and I will. So now this asset is generating a cash flow that is creating an asset that is generating a cash flow or an additional intrinsic value. Does this make sense? Those are the three steps. Reduce investment in liabilities, number one. Very simple. Focus on it and send energy to that. Send focus to it. And all of a sudden, your energy will be flowing in that direction. You will finish the liabilities really fast. And then you start investing in assets. And then you are going to let those assets create even more assets for you. That is a principle. So I'm going to share with you a short formula for financial freedom. So in order for you to get to financial freedom, like we need to keep doing this. And how do you strategically get there? So one is, this is really important. Sounds too technical. Spend less than you earn. Spend less than you earn. Too fancy, right? I know it's too simple, but people don't follow it. I need to learn to follow it. You need to learn to follow it. Spend less than I earn. Write that in the chat. Put that in the chat. Spend less than I earn. Make it as a habit. So what happened? I don't know whether you remember this. There is something called Parkinson's law. So let's say you are making $1,000 or even $500 when you're a teenager, when you're really young. That is your income. And when you got your first job, let's say you got $2,500. When you are 500, you are kind of $1,000, kind of like scrapping, like basic expenses. Everything goes away. You had a broken car. You kind of figured out a way to survive and everything, but you are able to balance it with $1,000. Let's say, and if you are from a different country, translate this currency into your own salary, in your own income, your own business, cash flow, whatever. Okay. And when you started getting $2,500, what happened? All of a sudden, you started saving $1,500, right? All of a sudden, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm saving $1,500. Absolutely not. Didn't happen. Why? Right? Last month, you are getting $1,000. This month, you're getting $2,500. What happened? Where's the money? Now, you reach $2,500. You have $3,000 expense. You're spending $2,500 from your salary. And now the bank has figured out a way like, oh, you're a high potential financial puppet, somebody who could work for us. So they gave you a credit card and now you're spending $500 more than your salary. Does it resonate with you? And if you're not spending like that, I'm not saying you are, but some of you might be. A lot of you might be. It's possible. So just check it out. And then all of a sudden, you got promoted. You make $10,000. You're an IT professional. You are a senior person. You have a business. You make a lot of money. And all of a sudden, the situation has changed. Life has changed, right? Because you know that you are spending $3,000, but you become like really financially educated. And because of that, what did you do? You started saving $7,500 a month. Yes? Is that what happened? No. What happened is now you're spending $11,500. Do you see the problem? Do you see the challenge? What is going on with us? It's not your fault. Let me tell you, let me be the first one to tell you it's not your fault. This is how the financial system is designed to keep you poor. They want you to be poor. They want you to spend the money in advance so they could show that in their financials, right? You are an asset in their financials. When they when American Express share their financials to people, oh, I have this person, this Joe, oh, he's a great asset for us because he will pay for the rest of his life. You know what? When he was making $1,000, I thought, maybe he would not be. But when he reached $2,500, he started the account with us. He's spending $500 on credit card every month, right? And then he was promoted. I thought, you know what? He will use his money to pay for it. No, he wouldn't. You know what he's doing? He's using our money, to pay for it. And he's paying us 30% interest on the credit card when he is making $10,000 a month. So now, every month he's spending $1,500 in credit card and then some other expenses. And, he's thinking about buying a boat and he's thinking about upgrading his loan. We could give him a housing loan for $1.5 million. And then he could buy a expensive car and other things. So we could make a lot of money. This is a $100,000 customer. Easily we'll make $100,000 profit just from him, probably in a short period of probably 5 to 10 years. And then he will be broke. Who cares? We make money anyway, right? So that's what it is. So now this is a situation of the average man. You don't want to be the average man. You want to be the rich. You want to be the wealthy. You want to be the successful, right? That's why you're listening to this. I mean, this has been going on for some time. So you're listening to this because you're serious about life. So now, what did you learn? You learn that you have to spend less than. How do you write less than? This way or that way? Yeah, you got it. like with the small thing on this side, less than you earn. And it sounded too easy when I said in the beginning, right? But later on you realize, oh my gosh, look what I'm doing right now. Okay. And second thing that you do is you invest the difference, right? So if you are spending less than you make, then let's say when you get to 2,500, you spend 2,000. It's fine. And then the difference, you invest, pay yourself first. Clarkson, richest man in Babylon. So do you see that? When you make $10,000, you put bulk of $3,000 because you didn't have that money. You're not that rich. Instead of upgrading your house and expenses, everything, you invest the difference. Step number 2. You excited? You excited for step number 2? If you're excited, just type excited in the chat. Okay. So step number 2 is invest from your investments, allow it to compound. Allow it to compound. Okay. So Einstein said something. Einstein said compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. So what is the 8th wonder of the world? Is compound interest. It's compounding, which means that, like you have heard this thing, rich is getting richer, rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. Why? You have the answer now. Tell me. The poor are compounding their liabilities. So the rich has assets, poor has liabilities. Okay. Rich are compounding their assets, poor are compounding their liabilities. Rich is becoming richer, poor are getting poorer. I know this is very unfair. That's why I'm sharing this video with you so you could break this chain. And final step number 3 is keep investing until you reach financial freedom. Until you reach financial freedom, you keep investing and reinvesting until you reach there. So there are 3 levels as a financial journey. As we are concluding, there are 3 levels of journey that you go through. One is financial stability. Find out what is stability for you. Rather than trying to shoot for financial freedom in the beginning, shoot for financial stability, which is the amount of money that covers your food, accommodation, and basic expenses. So that is financial stability. So stability. And instead of looking for financial freedom, try to achieve that financial stability. Let's say if you don't work anymore, will you be able to have financial stability for the rest of your life? Figure that number, what it is, and get to that number. So at that point, you know what? You will have food, you will have accommodation, you'll have basic expense paid for the rest of your life. That's financial stability. Are you with me? Good. Second step is financial confidence. So financial confidence. This is where you feel you don't have to work and everything is covered. You don't have to work. Everything is covered. You don't work for the rest of your life. Everything for the rest of your life is covered. That is financial confidence. Finally, financial victory is where you don't need to work. Everything that you think you want, everything that you dream of is covered. That is financial freedom. So what are the things? One, stability. So because we have a really high goal of financial freedom, it's harder to get there. That's why we shoot for stability as the first part of the journey. Second part of the journey, and what are the places that we could invest? I'll share that in a second. But before that, stability. And the second thing is confidence. Third thing is victory. Okay, financial victory. That is how you travel towards it. So first you make sure that everything, the basic expenses, everything is paid for. Second is like you could buy everything that you want reasonably, like your reasonable expenses. It's all paid without you working. Third step is financial victory, where you can live your dream life and still be okay. So once you have that critical mass, Define that critical mass, what it is. Stability, what is it? For confidence, what is it? For victory, what it is? And start building assets towards that. So as you're building that, I would like you to remember, as you're having this journey, remember that people give you hype ideas to make short-term money. Sometimes people will tell you, oh, let's do this quick thing and make like a lot of money. Anything that involves quick, get rich quick, most of the time, 96% of the time, it's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. It takes time to build wealth. It takes time to build wealth. Right? So if anybody is saying that, I'll teach you how to make money really fast, just in 1 year, you could make 30, 40, 100, 1000% growth, run away. Because it's unheard of. Almost nobody was able to do this. One exception there, I'll tell you one exception for that. As I'm talking about what are the things to invest, I'll share that with you. But except for that exception, almost nobody has consistently delivered above 40% annual return. So even some of the biggest, greatest investors and fund managers in US, some of the people who are really famous, they are still not able to deliver above 40% annual return. And those people are extremely rare. Usually, we find out who they are after they die. The reason is we don't know if they have consistency, right? There are like fascinating people like that. John Templeton was one of them. He was able to produce really high return for his client and become a billionaire in Second World War. And then through Second World War, he did some fascinating way. Somebody you should study. And he has something called Templeton Fund. I mean, he passed away, but his fund is still continuing. Okay, so as you do this, I would like you to be paranoid and fearful when everybody is greedy. So this is another concept from Warren Buffett. Like Warren Buffett, I be fearful. And I added paranoid, fearful and paranoid when everybody is greedy. Everybody is saying, oh, look at that. The market is going up. Everything is good. Everything is great. Run away. When everybody is fearful, when everyone is fearful, be greedy. So what does that mean? If you go to a store, like if you go to a mall and you want to buy Lululemon, if you know what Lululemon is, or if you want to buy like really expensive clothes, and all of a sudden, there is a fancy brand called Lululemon here in the US. And if there is a 50% discount, I'm sure it is in different countries too, there is a 50% discount for Lululemon in the mall, what do? You'll be like, no, I would rather buy it for full price. And if they are like, okay, because of the Christmas season, everybody's trying to buy, so we want to increase the price by 25%. And usually Lululemons are like $100 per piece. And so if it's $100 thing and they are selling it for 125, what kind of dumb question is that, right? Like if they have 50% instead of $100, they're selling it for 50. Instead of 100, they are selling it for 50. Instead of 100, they are selling it for 125. Which one will you go and buy? What a silly question, right? I know. But this is what most people do. When the stock market is up, everything goes up. People want to buy their stocks. Isn't that crazy? Everybody's, oh, I made money. I made this thing. I made money on this thing. And I made money on that company, this company. You're like, oh, whoa. Oh, yeah, let's go invest there. And all of a sudden, you invest in the peak and the market goes down. And you're like, oh, I'm so lucky. Those guys made money. I don't make money. Why? I'm the unlucky one. No, you're not. You're the unlucky one because you waited for it to go up and you went to the mall and purchased Lululemon or whatever product that you buy. You bought it for 25% more than the market price. Why? You could have bought it when it was 50. Everything comes down. And when there is a recession, when everything is down, you're like, oh, No, stock market is crazy, dangerous. I cannot. You look at that. I put money and I lost money. I lost money. This is for like, I cannot do this. This is not for me. I would just save in cash, some money in cash for me to survive. Do you see the problem? So when there is discount, when there is 50% discount, when the whole economy is crashing, when there is war, when there is recession, when US goes to recession, when other countries go to recession, it is a discount. Write it down. It's a discount. You're getting 50% discount on stocks. You could have bought like 50% Apple for 50% of the price. You could have bought Amazon for 50% of the price. You could have bought some of the biggest companies for 50% of the price on 2020, 21. Nobody did. A lot of people did not buy. Some smart people did. You could have bought literally almost everything. Everything was on 50% sale on 2021, the middle of COVID. Bitcoin. We'll talk about crypto briefly today, but we'll talk more about crypto in a future video if you're curious about it. Bitcoin reached 4,899 or something at the time of COVID. Today it's 50,000. And I am not a crypto promoter. I do not recommend people spend a significant part of their money in crypto. And I'm not a financial advisor. I'm sharing what I'm doing, what my friends are doing, so that people can learn from it and grow their financial asset to the next level. So they are not taken advantage by big financial institutions who unfortunately want to rip you off. I'm not against them either. I'm just for you. Does it make sense? So I would like you to let you know that from 4,885 to 50,000 in 3 to 4 years right now. So Bitcoin is the only asset, not crypto. Bitcoin is the only asset that performed more than 40% over the years. Does that mean you should put all your money in Bitcoin? No. Probably 1 to 5% of your asset, probably you could invest on it. And the Bitcoin goes to a significant high amount, let's say $1 million, then you could benefit from it. But you didn't need to take any risk when in the middle of COVID. You didn't need to take any risk. You could have gotten Bitcoin for 4,885. Because you know why it reached 4,885? Because everybody was scared and paranoid and fearful. That's when you jump in. Does this make sense? And that is how you build your asset to the next level. And with my final point, couple of final points is, one is become an agile investor. Agile investor, in a sense, opportunities are there. For example, when the stock market goes up, real estate could go down. When the real estate goes down, stock market might go up. There are opportunities everywhere. There are opportunities everywhere. But your job is to find out, where are people greedy? Run away from there. Where are people fearful? Run towards that. Same simple, powerful principle. And if you have a systematic way to handle that, the bottom line that I'm suggesting a simple formula is, buy anything when you buy it for 75% of the value. I mean, Warren Buffett has a fascinating formula. You could read a book called Intelligent Investor. That is, I mean, the entire formula that Warren Buffett uses for investing is laid out there. But the bottom line is, try to buy stuff for 75% of the price. Is that difficult? It's not difficult. When can you buy it? When everybody's scared. When in real estate, everybody's scared, go invest in real estate. When everybody's excited, probably sell it if you want. Okay? When everybody's scared about stock market, go and buy stock market. When everybody's excited, don't go there. Same thing, when everybody's scared of crypto, go invest. I see crypto. I'm not a kind of all-in crypto person, but crypto is going to be the new internet. When internet started, there were thousands and thousands of companies, probably hundreds of thousands of companies that started. The companies that benefited from it were Amazon, Google, and a few companies. The companies did not benefit from it. You might have heard of a company called AOL, Yahoo, Some companies like that, they never went anywhere. The same way in the crypto world, what is going to happen is probably 3 or 4 companies will make most of the money. 3 of those companies will become the new technology, new world order. And Bitcoin will be one of them. Ethereum could be one of them. And there could be like third and fourth company. And possibly they could be Polygon and Matic. Okay, those could be the 4 companies that could grow. I don't know, but I'm almost sure that Bitcoin could be one of them, right? So the idea is you could put a small amount of money in Bitcoin and you'll be fine. You could be fine, and if you lose it, kind of thing. Again, I'm not recommending. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a business person. I'm helping businesses to grow to the next level. I work with Jay Abraham and Brian Franklin and Dan Lok and some of the prominent business strategists in the world to help businesses $10 million to $100 million and more to grow to the next level. So finally, what do you invest on? 1, long-term stocks. I already told you this. Like when you have discount, do that. When you have discount, invest in that. Second, real estate. I already shared that with you. When real estate is sold, when everybody's scared, then you invest in real estate. You invest in business. You could invest in business, your own business. Or you could start a business. Business is something that creates value to people. So invest in creating value to people. And crypto, I already told you, a small amount of money could go to crypto. And finally, the most important investment is yourself. Invest in yourself. What you're doing today, I want to congratulate you because you decided to invest in yourself today. And that is the biggest investment, my friend. And we'll be talking more and more about other topics on how to create wealth in multiple ways. But do this. Whatever I told you, keep in mind, if you are investing in liability today, stop investing in liabilities. If you are paying a lot in credit card, or if you are paying in credit card or high interest rate loans, pay that off. That's your best investment. Pay that off so you build that thing. Keep in mind, Parkinson's law, if you have money, more money you have, more expenses you have. So naturally, do not allow expenses to grow in accordance with your income. If that's the case, you will end up with more liability and you become a puppet for the bank to make money. Please don't go there. Please be rich. I want you to be successful. I want you to be rich. I want to see you at the top. Okay, I look forward to seeing you succeed and build a lot of asset and share with me here that you use these methods as a foundation to grow a big mansion of wealth. See you next time.